A very good morning to one and all watching this video. This is a short session where I'll be giving you all a general idea regarding the structure of an atom. Okay, so before we begin talking about the structure of an atom, let us have a quick look at the history of atoms. Okay, so you all must be familiar with the term matter, isn't it? What is matter? Anything which occupies space and has mass is known as matter. So, in that sense, everything that we see and feel around us is matter. The trees, the birds, the wind, us, we are all matter. We also know that matter can be further subdivided into three states: solid, liquid, and gas. But have you ever thought about what this matter is composed of? Well, this is a question that was addressed several years ago, and many people have been trying to find an answer to it. Recorded observations suggest that at about 500 BC, an Indian philosopher by the name Maharishi Kanath, he put forth a suggestion that if we start dividing matter into tinier and tinier particles, ultimately a stage is reached where it cannot be divided further. Back in the days, this matter was termed as padarth in Sanskrit, and he called these particles that cannot be divided further as paramanu. At about the same era, two Greek philosophers by the name Democritus and Eusephus also put forth a similar suggestion. They also said that if we begin dividing matter into tinier and tinier particles, ultimately a stage is reached where it cannot be divided further. Democritus called these particles as atomos. Atomos is a Greek word which means indivisible. So that is how atoms came into the picture. Okay, so now let us, okay, and all these, whatever I just said, were philosophical considerations. There were no scientific evidences to prove these philosophical theories. This was how things were till 18th century. And by the end of 18th century, scientists started seeking scientific evidences for these philosophical considerations. So the first scientific theory regarding the structure of an atom was put forth by a scientist named John Dalton. And this theory was widely accepted by the scientific community for many years. And this theory had several drawbacks to it. And one of the major drawbacks to his theory was that he said that atoms were indivisible. That is, it is not possible to divide atom further. That is, atom is the smallest uh, part of matter. That is what he said. Atoms are indivisible. You cannot divide atoms further. This proved to be wrong with the discovery of protons, neutrons, and electrons. So, protons, neutrons, and electrons are collectively called as the subatomic particles. If you ask me what is the structure of an atom, I will say that the structure of an atom is primarily composed of a nucleus, a central nucleus, and within the central nucleus you can find protons and neutrons. And around this nucleus, electrons are arranged in various shells. So, the structure of an atom, it consists of a central nucleus, and within this nucleus you can find protons and neutrons, and around this electrons are present in various shells. Protons are positive in charge, neutrons are neutral in charge, and electrons are negative in charge. The center of the atom, that is the nucleus, is positive because of the presence of protons in it. Because protons are positively charged, neutrons have no charge. So the charge of the nucleus is positive. And you have the electrons present around this nucleus in various shells. This is how the structure of an atom is. Now you might think, if every atom is composed of protons, neutrons and electrons, how are they different? You have hydrogen atom, you have helium atom, you have fluorine atom, sodium atom, you have 118 atoms, you have 118 elements in the periodic table. How are they all different? Well, the difference in the atoms is in the difference in the number of their protons and electrons. Atoms differ according to the difference in their number of protons and electrons. It is the difference in the number of protons and electrons that make up different atoms. And it is this difference in the number of protons and electrons that is responsible for their specific properties. The specific property of each atom depends on the number of protons and electrons. Okay, so when we talk about the structure of an atom, we can say that structure of an atom is composed of a central nucleus. Within this central nucleus, you can find protons and neutrons, and around this nucleus, you can see electrons arranged in various shells. An additional information that I would like to provide here is that electrons were discovered by a scientist named J.J. Thomson through his experiments, and protons were discovered by E. Goldstein, and the neutrons were found by a scientist named James Chadwick. So we discussed about the history of atoms, how we've started using the term atoms, and then we've concluded it by talking about the structure, right? So what is the atomic structure? The atomic structure comprises of a central nucleus which contains protons and neutrons, and around this nucleus you can find electrons arranged in various shells. So that's all there is. Thank you and have a nice day.